love you. All right, I guess I can go home now. What am I supposed to say? Thank you very much. Wow. Is there anybody who's not here yet? Raise your hand. It's a couple honest folks in the room. I'm going to take this mic stand, even though I didn't ask, to put my books on here. So here's what I came to say. I'd like to ask you to tune into the room, tune into the space, tune into the community. And ask you to do something you're usually told not to do in a lot of spiritual circles. Tune into your body to be somatic. Be aware of how you feel. And when I say be aware of how you feel, I'm not asking you to think about it. I'm not asking you to label it. I'm not asking you to say good, bad, sad, tense. Much more like being curious, to just notice, to be a witness. Let's take a big, deep breath in through our nose. Hold that in the temple just a few moments, and then pure release through the mouth. Let's do that 2 more times. Hold it in the temple, and then 1 more. Hold it a little longer, and then we're going to begin by coming together in a tone, making a tone. This sounds like this in Aramaic. It's basically the same word in Hebrew. The pronunciation can be slightly different. But in Aramaic, it sounds like this. Bereshit. Can you say that? Bereshit. Bereshit. Okay? I'm going to tone this sound once so we can get an idea of what I mean by toning. It's going to be like this, okay? This toning's not performance. I will say, it sounds like a sales thing. I don't mean it that way so much, but my book, Echoes of an Ancient Dream, Aramaic Toning on the Path of Light, we've got some out on the table. For Aramaic toning, there's really nothing else on the planet that'll get you into that so much, but there's a lot in there about being aware before the sound even travels through you, being so wholly and fully aware that you are completely present. You are open. That there's a full release of any kind of expectation of the way it should sound. If anyone's a singer or, even just anyone who's ever used your voice in a public capacity in a lot of ways, as soon as you start to notice it and you start to be a little bit obsessive about how it sounds, it starts wavering and wobbling. So what I'm asking you to do is release any of that. You don't have to last forever and turn blue and clunk. I hear people clunking across the room. It's not about lasting forever, although every once in a while there's a guy that has like this huge upper torso, and you can tell that he's going to like tone for like 2 minutes nonstop while the rest of us are waiting. That's okay. That's good. This is not a performance. This is pure expression. Just allowing it to come out. The quality of your voice. There is no quality of your voice. Let me put it that way. The judgment doesn't fit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sound this once, Bereshit, and you're going to hear me basically just express a word, Bereshit. Okay? Just be open. Allow this one through you. You're going to do it with me in a moment. Bereshit. Remember that at the end. So let's just make that sound once, okay? You don't have to be right in pitch or harmony. It doesn't have to sound like Boys the Men or something. It does happen occasionally, usually in Philadelphia, but I don't know about Atlanta. We'll see. There's a lot of talent in Atlanta. I didn't mean it that way. Okay, here we go. One Bereshit, wide open. Bereshit. So, rhetorical question. How do you feel? I'm not asking you, do you feel happy, sad, open, anything like that. but rather, again, just tune into the temple, tune into the body temple. Yeshua called this the Haikla. Haikla is the word translated as temple from the Aramaic. Haikla is a really powerful word. When he said, he also had another phrase very close to that. He said, I come to give you something and give it abundantly. What was that phrase that we know of? I come to give you life. That word in Aramaic for life is chaya. People ask a lot, are you saved? You know what the word save is in Aramaic? Chaya. Okay. Do you have salvation? Do you know what the word for salvation is in Jesus' language? Chaya. You getting what I'm saying? What that really means is conscious life energy. It means to be the realization that you are the conscious energy of life itself. We are literally conscious beings of nested frequencies, of all of the frequencies expressing, okay? Now, if we could get that and realize it has nothing to do with what we call the manifestation or what's obvious, we can go to some really deep places. But that word haikla, the kla sound in Aramaic, means a gathering of. It means a gathering of conscious life energy, okay? So when I'm asking you to tune in, it's not in judgment, but rather to notice, to be curious. We're going to tone another sound. It sounds like this. Milta. Milta. Can you say that? Milta. These are not English words. Milta is an interesting word we'll talk about in a moment, but it was translated as, in the beginning was the Word. And I can tell you this, that coming from Jesus' language, from Aramaic, if there's anything that word milta does not mean, it is Word. That would be mela. In Greek, it's often, in the beginning was capital T, W, capital T, capital W. In the beginning was the word. That's logos. But in Koine, Greek, that would have been lexis, or Lego even. In Lego, everybody loves Legos. In Latin, the word was verbum. Interesting. But the word for word in Latin was actually Lego. What verbum means is actually the tiniest amount of measurable movement, is the best way I can put that. I'll come back to that. So let's try this milta. Just one time, see how it feels, okay? Get a beautiful breath through your nose. Milta. Now we're going to add Bereshit Milta. Put those two together, okay? You can breathe in the middle between those two. This isn't a competition. You ready? Beautiful breath. Bereshit. Now, one more breath. Now, if I said, in the beginning, Word, do you think you would feel what you're feeling right now? Do you think if I talked about that line, this is the full first line from the Aramaic of the Gospel of, what's called John, Yohanan, but what it was originally called was the Gospel of the Beloved Disciple. And it was originally about a woman, not a man. And a guy who's called Saint Irenaeus by the Catholic Church regendered that gospel in the late 2nd century. He was a misogynist, and that has nothing to do with therapy or massage and all that stuff. We live in Asheville, and I make the joke, you got to be careful downtown in Asheville because you may trip and fall over a Reiki master. Don't throw anything. I'm sure there's about 400 in the room. But misogynist, anybody know what misogynist means? Yes? Basically, woman hater, that's what it means. Misogynist. So Irenaeus is the guy that started pulling the Bible together. A couple of centuries before, people like Constantine, etc., Irenaeus was the one who started forming what would ultimately become the canon of the Bible and throwing certain things out and putting other things in its place and changing a few things before anybody realized they should be looking. That's okay. But the first word in the Gospel of John, or the first line, sounds like this, Bereshit. Can you say that? Bereshit. Eta. We. Hua. Milta. So say it really fast. Bereshit eta we hua milta. I think somebody got it, or maybe it was a conglomeration of like 7 or 8 voices at once. But so what I'm really speaking about is, and I'm talking about heightening perception. I'm not necessarily speaking of increasing your thought capacity. Think about this. I said there, that if there's anything it doesn't mean, it's just a simple word. And, there's all this emphasis on change your thoughts, change your life, and that's great. But I want to offer that there's maybe a possibility that you've never had an accurate thought in your life. There's a strong possibility that every single thought you've ever had is an absolute delusion of your mind. Let's just consider that. There's a great quote from Uman, some dude from the East. And Uman, it said that his student asked, "Teacher, how do I meditate without thinking?" And Uman's response was, "Without thinking." Okay, that's big. I'm not saying thought's bad, but what I'm saying is this. Thought quantizes. Thought is a judgment. Changing your thoughts isn't changing your life, because you're not what's... oh, look at that. You're not what's projecting on the screen. That's not your life. That's the dream you're having. That's the sum total of the judgments going on through your mind, etc. But your mind isn't there either. What's real is what is looking. Put it this way. I say this all the time in my teaching, that you've got what was known as Ra, which was the light of God, the light of the sun in the ancient teachings, and then you have something called Nu Ra, which is moonlight. What's unique about moonlight versus sunlight? It's a reflection of sunlight. So moonlight is sunlight. Well, Nu Ra was the word Yeshua, Jesus, used for human light, human awareness. So he's literally saying, look, if moonlight is sunlight, then human light is God light. You know why? Because that's the only light. Someone, thank you for saying that, came up before you'll put your hand up probably, before we started this morning, and said that when Loretta and I were here, we were offering a water healing and anointing on Good Friday earlier this year. She said that it was the only time she had seen the light in her life. And it was like, and then Richard gives me that intro. It's like, jeez, how do I live up to all this? No. But what I'm saying here is about this. It's about just having one moment of being open. Being open. It's about the sensation of pure frequency, the awareness of the smallest measurement and or change in movement. We talk about the Big Bang. In the beginning was, cue the subwoofers, etc. And that's great. I think men think things like that up. But it's got to have big bombs and all that. But maybe it was just, I say it all the time, Alan Watts said it was a wiggle or a giggle, just the slightest little. How does everything become more of everything? All it needs is to just kind of, like that. Should I be quoting George Carlin on a Sunday morning? I'll keep it clean. I am from New Jersey. But he had talked about everybody's like, save the earth. He's like, the earth aren't the ones that need help. It's the people. He's like, eventually the earth's just going to shake us off like a bad case of fleas. And you think about that, but he called God the big electron. And he had this great sound that went with it. It just takes the tiniest bit of shift and movement. And that brings to mind Marianne. When I was in my late teens in the early 90s, right before and during and right after Return to Love came out, I was up in New York City, and I was doing these little, the first Wednesday and Thursday of every month, Marianne would come back from LA to New York, and she would speak at Town Hall, and we'd have these Course in Miracles study groups at the New York Open Center. But in A Course in Miracles, she had this amazing quote, which came from the Course, and it said, a miracle is a radical shift in perception. And I would say that radical shift could be tiny and slight, but it's the one that needs to happen. It's the one that you're open for, the one that you're primed for. That's only really going to be powerful for you if you're open, if you're aware. So I want to read just a couple of sentences here from a book that changed my life. It's called The Third Ear. I know, we all have two, like we need the third. Where are you going to put it? On Listening to the World, from Joachim Ernst Berendt. Joachim was a guy who started the Berlin Jazz Festival back in 1965. I tried to reach out to him after I read this, but I would need like some kind of a seance or something, I think, to do that successfully because he had passed. But here we go. He says, the primal human being was a listener. He or she lay or squatted in the hollows and dips of the great plains, listening intently to all the noises of the surrounding world, all those mysterious sounds thronging in from the animal throats in the undulating woods, from the movements of grass and leaves, from the rustlings of snakes and reptiles, from caves and ravines, from winds and storm, from rain, hail, and thunder, from river and torrents. The Sanskrit word nada, which means sound, originally meant river. Sensing a river as sound must have been a matter of course for early human beings. What am I talking about? I'm talking about who feels they don't get out in nature enough. You want to be out in the wild? You're in the wild now, okay? All you need to do is just really tune in. Nature does help. And I would concur. You know, I've had John Denver a lot on my mind lately. This Wednesday is actually going to be 11 years since my mother passed. There's a chapter about that in my book. But this Friday is going to be 21 years since John Denver made his transition, doing what he loved, flying. And it's like I've been listening to like a lot of John Denver music lately. And I'm sure that a lot of people are probably going to be feeling that over the next few days. But John was a guy that really got me back into nature, etc. Not personally, but through his music, etc. So what I'm talking about is just coming back into the pure awareness so that when there is even the slightest shift in energy, in frequency, that you can be aware of that. So that when you hear a sound that you may have never heard in your life, you may be able to recognize that place in you where it actually feels on some level familiar. Make sure you're breathing right now. Talk a little bit about my friend here. I don't really have it overly loud at the moment, although the entire stage is pretty much, I'm almost lifting off the ground. This is called paradigm. Paradigm is an exact 1/1000th of a degree, the top part here, replica of the exact geometry of the Great Pyramid at Giza. I will say that the Great Pyramid, only in the last few months, there was a major scientific study that was released that was talking about how number one, they were not tombs, the pyramids. They thought they were tombs because everything that was inside of them was stolen over the course of thousands of years, and all that was left was dead bodies. But something else happening. The actual, they were using all these big words that I don't even know how to pronounce, words that sound like curse words, so I won't use them. But all these scientific terms, they realized that specifically the Great Pyramid at Giza had a network of waterways underneath it, which connected the other pyramids and the Sphinx and some other structures in the area that are as yet uncovered. A new Sphinx was actually found a few weeks ago. A lot of people may not realize, outside of Luxor, Egypt, and they got the big idea of trying to lift it out with cables so they didn't have to dig it out of the ground. That doesn't sound like a good idea to me, but okay. But what literally cutting-edge scientists were realizing was that the pyramids seemed to be some kind of network that were there to create coherent frequency patterns to lift the energy of the community. And they measured it out in distances into the earth and going in all directions and even above the pyramid. And it changes during the day. It changes on how strong the sun is. And these networks of waterways between the pyramids, there's actually openings in the earth where the sun activates the water as it flows between the networks. You know, that's great. Okay, it's a death ray that kills aliens. Is it an alien transmission device? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this. Let's go up. It's the heart chakra. Why do I mean that's the heart chakra? What I'm saying is, in Eastern science, anyone that's closer to this is going to... I could have plugged this into the PA. I chose not to, because if it was too strong, it gives you the ability to run. But... what I say this is the heart chakra, this is the exact center frequency that Eastern science acknowledges as stimulating or resonating the human heart chakra and the area. This particular device paradigm isn't just for the spiritual upliftment of people around. It actually is specifically tuned to the frequency bandwidth of the human body. So when you're in the vicinity of it, just being near it, it's as if you're getting a sonic massage from the inside out. And I can do all kinds of really crazy things, which we'll do this afternoon in the workshop. But when you actually when you lay down with this and you put on headphones in a personal session, there's a slightly different frequency pattern going into each ear. And what your brain does is it immediately, within seconds, goes into a state of trance that is actually the relationship between the two. It's what's happening to us right now in the world. Let me mess with some tones here. Who would want to have that all day, every day? Welcome to the world. Welcome to today. It's not about what's happening out there. It's about your willingness to be aware of and allow the expression and resonance of pure frequency. Because everything that's happening right now for us in terms of humanity, politics, I'm not saying anything. I just said politics, that's all I said. Economy, all these different things. Does anybody have a sense that maybe in the last few years things are sort of up for you? All of a sudden things, and you don't necessarily know what it is. It just feels like you're a little bit on edge, tense, raw. Didn't all the ancient teachings say that? That there was going to be a time when it all came to a head? In the Gospel of Thomas, Yeshua said that there's nothing hidden that will not be revealed. He also said that which you bring forth from within will save you, that which you do not bring forth from within will destroy you. What do you think that means? And let me truncate that. To be conscious of what's happening within yourself at all levels. And to realize that, here's the self-test, to know whether it's yours or someone else's, okay? If what you're feeling inside of you is yours or it comes from some sort of outside stimulus. Here's the test. Who's feeling it? Sorry, kind of sucks in a way, but if you're feeling it, but it's not about guilt, it's not about anything along those lines. It's about simply tuning into those places in yourself where things don't feel comfortable. Let's be honest here. You notice that when things seem like they're going really smooth and great, you feel more spiritual. But somehow when it feels like things are falling apart and it's wonky and just kind of like a car out of alignment, you don't really want to go out of alignment for too long, do you? Do you ever notice, like people say here in the West, we're like, I don't understand how I can find something in my toe to affect my ear with acupressure, acupuncture, whatever. But you ever get a leak, like in the kitchen faucet in the entire house? You're down in the basement, you hear dook, 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 dook from a single leak. Everything's connected. There's no disconnection here. What it's really about, it's about awareness. It's about tuning in. I want to give you a little definition here. It's about being visceral. Anybody know what I won't say anybody know what visceral means. I'm going to give you this is the definition for visceral. Relating to the viscera. Okay? Is that good? Which is the internal organs in the main cavities of body, especially those in the abdomen, the intestines, in the center. Relating to deep inward feelings rather than to the intellect. Does everybody's intellect feel healthy right now? Or do you feel that maybe things are stirred up and you don't know where stuff is going, where thoughts are coming from, what's happening? At Unity in Wimberley, Reverend Ellen Davenport, it was about maybe 8 years ago in Texas, I remember her asking me, what do you see for humanity? Like, is it as bad as people are saying? And I say, actually, I think it might be perceived by most as being worse, but that it's not really going to be something that happens in a big way. It's going to be, everybody's heard the analogy of the frog. You put a frog in cool water, and you just kind of increase the temperature until they realize by the time they realize it's boiling, it's too late. Now, I'm not saying putting bad. What I'm saying here is this. You have choices here in where we go from here on out. And it's going to be happening on the level of frequency. Messing with your thoughts is okay. You know, it can help you. But what's really utmost importance for you right now is that you're able to tune into how you're feeling. Recognize your thoughts. Be curious of them. But it's never been more important for humanity that you trust your feelings. And when I say feelings, I don't mean emotions. I don't mean happy, sad, etc., but simply realizing that what you feel moment to moment is the resonance of something that's already in you. Now, this right here, this is the throat chakra. There's actually two different frequencies here. Hear that wobble? It's called modulation. Modulation. Hear that? Variation in strength, tone, or pitch. The exertion of a modifying or controlling influence on something. I'm going to bring this down. Ina. Can you say that? Ina or Ana. In Aramaic, Ana. Ana was the word, if Yeshua wanted to use the word I, talking about himself, he would say Ana. What's intriguing, though, is when he would say things like, I am the light, he would say that word twice, Ana, Ana. The way we would pronounce it is Anana. I am the way and the truth and the life. I am the gate, all those great phrases. Ana, Ana. If one Ana means I, what do two Anas mean? Not we, that would be changing it. What's literal? I heard somebody say it. I. What that really means is I am I. Yeshua wasn't saying, I, Jesus, am the light. What he was actually saying is, how many lights am I holding? Just one light, right? Don't fail me now. Can you see that? I think my batteries are going. Now, it looks like there's all these thousands of lights around here. But the fact of the matter is, what's really happening is that light of the eternal is coming into that prism that creates all these different manifestations that we have, all of these different humans, all of these different points of presence, points of awakening. And yet, we begin to mistake somehow the projections of all of those points as somehow being separate from where it's coming from. You're not what's on the screen. That's not your life. Changing your thoughts will change your movie. But your movie isn't real. That's your delusion. What matters isn't that, and it's not even what's in the film strip and the projector. Not that there's film strip and the projector anymore, but rather to realize that I am the light. And how do you become more? By paying attention to each moment, by paying attention to the present moment and realizing that there's nothing outside of now. An awareness of Those are technically unison, but they're not quite unison. Do you hear the difference? This one's a little lower. What's the easiest way to bring these two into alignment? Into tune, unison. There's actually a really easy way. To take the one of greater mass, the one that's vibrating lower, and remove. Just take a piece of sandpaper, remove mass. It's not about more workshop. It's not about more teachings. It's not about more books. It's right now, more than ever for humanity, it's about what you're willing to let go of. Nothing is more important right now than you being open and just allowing yourself to be. We are the grounding rods for humanity. We literally came here to navigate the cosmic shift. You made a choice to be here right now. People say to me, wouldn't you love to live at the time of Jesus? I'm like, well, number one, how do you know I wasn't? Number two, to me, this is the big game. This is it. And what I'm asking you right now is for a commitment. I'm asking you for a commitment, and you don't have to stand up and go, praise Jesus, and all that kind of stuff. I don't mean that. We can do that. I can let my hair down. It's easier to do it then. But what I'm saying is, over the next few years, over the next few weeks, over the next few days, we're gonna still be stirring in the soup. And what's really amazing is that you have this. You have community right here at Unity North. You have people to lean on. We're not alone. Nobody's alone. In the words of Thomas Merton, no man is an island. No woman either. It's really about what you're open to. And I wanted to pull this together, this last minute by just saying, first of all, we're going to spend some more time with this afternoon doing a lot crazier stuff. I just kind of wanted to not push the envelope too much in the morning or, at the service. And we're going to have a 2-hour experience where we're actually going to take you through the frequencies of the 7 chakras and move through sweeps through the chakras vibrationally. What does that mean? That means that imagine that instead of having a massage on the outside, it's actually happening internally. Imagine that every cell in your body is going to get vibrated, is going to get massaged. I'm not saying that in a health perspective. What I am saying is usually you are having all kinds of stuff cutting through you at all times. You've got cell phones, you've got Wi-Fi, you've got all kinds of coherent and incoherent things cutting through you at all times. What this is actually going to enable you to do is to be able to have an experience where you can just let go for a couple of hours and just be in the presence of something that you can't explain, but you can feel on a really deep, visceral level, which is that level of the place at pure feeling, internally rather than externally. Esoteric, which means further in, versus exoteric, which is further out. I'm standing up here thinking about, pulling this to a point here, and I have a couple of things I'd like to say really quick. One is that when I spoke of that commitment, I want to make sure that everybody realizes that you can always reach out to someone else. I'm saying this because I've been losing a lot of people in my life to suicide, things of that nature, that I didn't know were going through things. And I really want to throw that out there because the light workers are the ones that are feeling it the most intensely because you're wide open. People come to me, I'm an empath. I'm like, yeah, well, who isn't? Well, true. But what happens is when you own that, you take ownership for that, you get really sensitive, and as stuff is here's the other side of that. Everything's fine. You're fine. The only thing that's happening is it's no big deal. Time and space is ripping away from eternity and completely deconstructing. Everything's fine. The reason I say that is because time and space is not what's real. In the words of St. Francis of Assisi, what you are looking for is what is looking. And in honor of that commitment, I wanted to honor the fact that in just a few days, on the 24th of this month, my beautiful wife Loretta, who's completely hiding in the back, and I are celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary. Yay. I couldn't do this without her. She's my grounding rod. Richard says that my asides are like these big I'm focused on something, and I say a little thing, and then I go back to the main subject, and he's going, wait, what was that side thing? She's the one that kind of pulls my balloon down and says, all right, Mr. Jesus, man, just calm down, take a breath, drink some water or something. But I'm up here with a profound... Wayne was here before he died, wasn't he? Dyer. Wayne Dyer, for me, was essentially like a second father for many years. I haven't really talked about this publicly, and it still is like, wow. It was about just a couple of years ago, this past August, and we were down in Florida when a friend of ours that we were staying with, who her son was one of Serena's best friends, and our friend was texting, like, Dale, and leaving me voicemails. You got to call me. I want to tell you something before it hits the press. And then finally a friend of mine told me, and it was like something happened to my own father. He was always there. You know, if I called the office here, Maya, his manager, you know, would do whatever. I could show up at any event and, you know, just walk right through the door, essentially. But I've had a phrase here that I wanted to close with that's been on my mind the last few days. And it was his truncated version of something called Auguries of Innocence from William Blake. And he sort of took the 50 lines and squashed it down to just 5 or 6. And I just wanted to let this in with you and invite you to this afternoon. It's 2 to 4 p.m. And we're going to do it in the Peace Chapel. So the lights are going to be out. This is going to be really powerful. I'll explain more about this, and we'll get a lot sort of more crazy with Paradigm during that. And then tomorrow and possibly the next day, we're offering private sessions where you actually lay down and you're having this vibrate your entire body from the inside out. But the added thing is you have headphones. And those headphones actually bring your body into a state of entrainment. Trance doesn't sound as good, but that's basically what it is. Your brain will lock in on the relationship between the different frequency patterns in each ear. And then we can actually take you through in what I believe is a galactic transmission. I'm not going to start talking about aliens and stuff, but I guess I am. What I'm saying is this. They've been trying to speak with us for a long time. And when they do, we make religions out of it. So if they found a way to do it vibrationally with frequency in a way that we couldn't misinterpret because our brain couldn't grab onto it because it's not in words, imagine that. What an interesting thing that there's a carrier frequency within this device for you. And that transmission comes to you, and there's a certain music playing into you, and there's also a certain music playing out of you that may have no other way to play out. And that brings me to this, and I honor Wayne in this. They said that when they threw his ashes in the water, that his face formed. Has anybody seen the photo? His family. So, to see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower, to hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour, we are led to believe a lie when we see with, not through the eye, which was born in a night to perish in a night, when the soul slept in beams of light. Big breath. We are literally the ones we have been waiting for. It's us. We're the grounding rods for humanity. If you feel like you're really sensitive and raw, lean on the ones around you. More so than that, just take a deep breath and let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Be open. Be open. Be open. With that, I say thank you for just being the beautiful beings and community that you are, and I'll see y'all, including those ones that thought they had other plans this afternoon. I'll see y'all, proper English, at 2 p.m. Thank you for being open.